Hello, today we will discuss about the difference between dispersion and diffraction of light. So the words look similar, but they are totally different, although both are related to light. So the first we'll talk about dispersion. So what is dispersion? Dispersion is the process by which light of different frequency or color refracts by different amount. So one can think about a medium. So now white light falls. White light's combination of 7 colors. But after refraction, so they will be different. The amount of diffraction will be different. So there will be 7 colors. So there will be 7 amount of diffraction will be there. So as in a combination, they were in a white color, right? But when it comes somewhere here, the different color effect will be observed. This is the case of this. Now, what is diffraction? Now, diffraction is the case when light passes through a slit, a small slit, which is comparable. The slit is comparable or less than the wavelength of light. Then there will be spreading or bending of light after passing through. What is the idea? When light passes through a slit means a gap for passing through the light. Now here the wavefronts will form the secondary light sources. Now they will pass through this and they will produce image over that, effect over that. If the gap is quite large, then the effect of the light intensity will be maximum somewhere. But if the slit gap is comparable with the wavelength of light, then the effect of spreading or effect of bending will be observed. So you will get a bright section here and also you get some of the bright section, some other points. This is the case of diffraction. So one is the case of dispersion, another is the case of diffraction. Now what happens in case of dispersion? So dispersion of light occurs when light is separated into different constituent color because of the refraction. So the example is, so if you have a medium, light falls through this. So due to Snell's law, due to refraction, they are separated. And remember, amount of refraction is different for the different colors. Now what is diffraction? So diffraction of light occurs due to the superposition of secondary light sources following the Heisenberg's. Now in this case, it is following Snell's law. So dispersion is following Snell's law, or the case of refraction, where this is the case of superposition of secondary light sources, which was explained by Snell. Now the simple examples of this thing. So the example of dispersion is the case of a prism. So now white light passes through this. When white light falls here, now here there will be different amount of diffraction, different amount of refraction will be observed. Now in this case, red will refract the minimum, whereas the violet will refract the max. Now when white light is passing through a glass prism, it is splits into spectrum colors. That means it starts from violet to red. Violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow and orange red. And this process of white light splitting into constituent colors is termed as dispersion. Whereas diffraction, the diffraction pattern of white light forms with a grating. It's known as the grating split. So grating, there will be n number of slits. So there will be n number of slits. The slit gap is comparable to wavelength of light. When this is passing through this, so one can get at the central region, there will be a very bright section, which was expected due to the geometry. Now, the other side of the bright point, you will get some of the bright points. As you are using white light, now you can get some part of the spectrum. Now see, there is a distinct difference between dispersion and diffraction. In the left hand side, the pattern starts from red to violet. It is moving in the downward direction, red to violet. Whereas you can see the order of spectrum somewhere here. Here, this is violet to red. Now, in this case, this is violet to red. So, obviously, they are in reverse in. Now, the fourth point, the velocity of different color inside the prism are different. The deviation is least for the red color and the maximum is for the violet. So, obviously, the red will be at the top and violet will be at the bottom. Now, it is depending on the refraction of the color. Different color means different wavelength. When we are talking about color, this is related to wavelength. So, dispersion is related to wavelength, related to different color and related to the angle of refraction. Whereas the angle of diffraction is different for the different wavelength. So here it depends on the angle of diffraction. So what is the meaning of angle? Now here one can think about here angle is 0 degree. Now one can think about this angle, say some theta 1. So this particular angle one can think about theta 2. Now as you are spreading, you will have the case of diffraction. So here the dispersion is related to the wavelength, whereas this is related to angle theta, angle of diffraction. Now, there are some applications of this thing. So, one of the important application is prism spectra. It is very, very useful for measuring refractive index of material. So, one can take a material which is shaped in the form of a prism, light passes through this, and one can calculate the dispersive power of the material. So, if you are able to calculate the dispersive power, so in this process you will be able to calculate what is the refractive index of that particular material. So, when you are talking about the optical devices, optical medium, so refractive index plays a very, very important role. The velocity of light, what is the velocity of the light inside the material? This will be defined by refractive index. So, this is a very, very important thing. And also the prism can reverse the direction of light by internal reflection, and for this purpose they are useful in binoculars. So a high quality prism materials are used in binoculars. So in this process the dispersion of light plays a very, very important role. And diffraction spectroscopy, this is also the case of spectroscopy. Similarly you can use this thing, but diffraction spectroscopy is a various method utilizing electromagnetic radiation which investigate the matter properties. So different properties can be studied by diffraction spectroscopy. And another one is the crystal study, or sometimes it's called the XRD study. So if you have a crystal medium, so the crystalline material act as a diffraction grating. So when light passes through this, normally we use X-rays, passes through this, you will get a pattern. So if you have the pattern, one can analyze this one and one can get the idea about the particular. Thank you.